Hello again. You're still with the SABC's continuing coverage this evening of the death of the former Deputy President of the country and the ANC, David Mabuza. The 64-year-old, we understand, passed away at a Johannesburg hospital earlier today. Mabuza had struggled with poor health for many years and even went as far as seeking medical treatment in Russia. Now, tributes are coming in not just from his political home, the ANC, and others in the tripartite alliance, namely the SACP and COSATU, but across the political spectrum. In fact, a short time ago, a statement from the IFP leader, Tlhabisa, saying that South Africa's lost a leader who was both pragmatic and driven by purpose. They say while we may have differed politically, the IFP acknowledges and honours the contribution of former Deputy President David Mabuza to South Africa's democratic cause. Let's get the view then of the African Transformation Movement's leader in Parliament, Zungula. A very good evening to you, sir. Good to have your time as well on the SABC. What came to mind this afternoon when you heard, like many of us did, that David Mabuza had died?
Evening, Tendekile, even to your viewers. Look, it was a very, very big shock, and it would always come as a shock to Mr. David Mabuza, because he was one unproblematic individual, an individual that stayed out of the limelight, so you never know anything about him. So whenever such things then would happen, it would come as a shock, because you don't know where he is, what he's doing. He would just surface, make one statement and then go, hide again. So when the news came about this afternoon, it was a big shock on our side.
And you touch on an interesting issue, because when we see politics, at least in the mainstream, we know you all to be parties that stand on opposing sides of the field, for instance, and sometimes that relationship is coloured with animosity, a lot of bravado and coarse language, perhaps even in some instances. But how would you describe David Mabuza's interactions, perhaps with you as the leader of the ATM at the time, and more broadly, his handling as leader of government business of interactions with the opposition, even when he was in the House for the Q&A sessions?
He was very unproblematic. He was an individual that would get to Parliament and just get down to business. He, in Parliament, there are instances whereby members heckle and, they make wild statements. But when it came to Mr. Mabuza, it never gave an impression that it was personal. For him, he would not entertain such, business of Parliament whereby people then get to heckle and get engaged in such things. He would do the work. After doing the work, have, conversations with other members of Parliament, obviously on issues affecting their people, make jokes here and there, and then he would leave. I did not have an interaction with him, and I've never seen any interaction with him that would suggest that maybe he was a person that was personal, or it became personal whenever it became heated in Parliament.
Let me allow you then, Mr. Zungula, just as we conclude, a final word to his family, comrades and loved ones. What would you say to them in their hour of grief?
Firstly, to thank them for allowing their son, their brother, their comrades to serve the country, the manner in which he served the country. In as much as there may be differing political views, I think we need to appreciate the fact that when a person gets involved in politics, it takes a big sacrifice for them to partake in politics and give their time and their life to politics. So we want to send our deepest condolences on behalf of the ATM to their family, to the comrades, in fact, to the entire South African citizens, because it is all of us as a country that has lost a former deputy president.
Zungula from the African Transformation Movement, thank you so much for speaking to us. Just one quick one. The ANC Youth League has also issued a tribute of its own, where they say that they join the millions of South Africans in mourning the former Deputy President David Mabuza tonight. They say they'll remember him as a committed revolutionary, as well as decisive leader in local, provincial and national politics. They say long live DD Mabuza.